Hi, my name is Dwayne Gathers, and welcome to Civitas LA, featuring diverse and emerging leaders who make up this dynamic region and are creating community every day and building a better tomorrow. These bi-weekly conversations enable us to hear from, learn from, and be inspired by a new generation of civic entrepreneurs who are forging a path forward in making our region a stronger, more resilient, and connected group of citizens. Our goal is to elevate civic discourse, foster community connections, and promote civic knowledge and engagement across the greater Los Angeles region while elevating diverse and emerging voices in that conversation. Founded in 1908 as a home for pregnant young women with nowhere else to turn, St. Anne's Family Services has evolved into one of our region's leading social services agencies, meeting the ever-changing needs of LA's most vulnerable communities by offering an array of comprehensive services that promote the safety, resilience, and ongoing achievement of children and families. As Civitas LA celebrates Women's History Month, I am delighted to be joined in studio this afternoon by Ms. Lorna Little, the first woman to lead the organization as president and CEO, as we discuss the history of this unique organization, its evolution over the years, and how they're working to deliver innovative programs to meet the ever-changing needs of children and families. Lorna Little, welcome to Civitas LA.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, welcome to Women's History Month. Thank you for making history, and thank you for joining us. On Civitas LA, we always want our guests to give us a brief personal intro. So share with us a little background on Lorna Little.
Well, I'm the president and CEO of St. Anne's Family Services, as you mentioned. I am a servant leader. I'll call myself that first. I'm here to make sure that we lead this organization in a way that allows people to have an optimal life experience. We want to make sure that those who come through, virtually or in the community, that they leave our program better than they came into it. I've also prided myself on having a variety of skills and backgrounds because I do believe, as this is Women's History Month, that we should be able to do anything that we put our mind to. So I'm also a photographer. I believe in empowering individuals. I'm a clinician. I am also a teacher. I've been a professor at universities. I do many things, a wife, a mother. I've been a foster parent, and I enjoy all the opportunities I have to enjoy life, impact life, and just be the best I can be to hopefully make my own history day by day.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. As we're celebrating Women's History Month, I was interested and excited to learn not only about St. Anne's, but the fact that this organization, which is now about 114 years old, you're the first woman to lead St. Anne's. Is that correct? Am I correct in that?
Yes, in the role of president and CEO.
Okay.
Of course, there have been nuns and people who have worked in the past, but as an official business that had contracts with various funders and states, I am the first president and CEO that is a woman. It's been male leaders prior to my coming on board.
Wow. As an organization, I know it started out in Boyle Heights, then it moved over to Glendale, then Highland Park, then over to Venice, and even Hollywood, since landing at your current home over just west of downtown. I love the learning of this podcast, and I love learning about organizations and people that I've never come across before. So St. Anne's was truly new to me. So share with us an overview of the history of this unique organization.
Yes, we started with, support and sponsorship and leadership through the, Franciscan Sisters of the Sacred Heart. And it was a 12-bed maternity hospital. So young women actually went there and had their children.
Okay.
Often at the time, sometimes when people say to me, I've not heard of St. Anne's, because we've changed our name since to St. Anne's Family Services to reflect the growth over the past years. It was because it was a secret. It was a place where someone had a baby. They went away. People said they were at their aunt's house, or they were at school, or they were at some other place. And that is where they went to safely have their baby, because the plan was generally one of adoption.
Okay.
And so sometimes, unfortunately, families, were in a situation where there was a lot of shame in that era when someone was pregnant prior to being married. And so the plan was, let's send them there, provide a safe place for them to give birth, and have a plan so that the adoption would happen in a safe manner, and then that child would go into a loving home with individuals who were looking to parent but may not have the capacity or ability to have biological children.
And what communities were served in those days, and how have those communities evolved over time? Who are these young women? Which parts of the region? And what were some of the challenges being faced?
So at that time, when the young women came, there was often family members who brought them in. It could have been a situation with school. Many of them were part of various communities, through Catholic community, churches may have sent the young women. And then it evolved. You asked about the history. It evolved over the years into a full-scale program. We had mom-baby programs. We recognized as times changed, we needed to prepare these young mothers who wanted to maintain their children in their care. So we developed parenting program. We started doing all the types of programs that we have now. We made sure that they had early childhood education. And so in terms of who we're serving and how they came to us, it was different then, because now we're serving people from all around, the entire Los Angeles community. We have people from all faith backgrounds. We have people from all, races and ethnicities. And many of the young women at this time are coming to us from the foster care system.
Okay.
So the evolution, it could be juvenile justice, foster care system, but the services have evolved to meet the need. So that's why we have mental health counseling services and community-based services, and services not only on site and also off campus. Housing is critical to the need. So that's the difference too. It wasn't you come and you have your child and then you leave. Now it's, if you're going to stay there, if this is the decision that you've obviously made and you want to parent, we give you the supports to do that, and you can live there. So we have a lot of housing programs as well.
Yeah. Well, share with us some of those programs you mentioned. You mentioned mental health. You mentioned parenting. What are some of the key programs and initiatives that you have? So
we have the workforce initiative, workforce development, which is very important, because a lot of times people will say, okay, they've come in, they've had a child. Yes, you're giving them parenting, you're giving them counseling. They're not going to stay at St. Anne's Family Services forever.
Right.
So we want to make sure they're equipped to be able to provide for themselves. We're trying to get them to a place of self-sufficiency. And so we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to be able to have the skills to work. So we're providing them with paid internships to ensure that they get various experiences, that they have items on their resume to make sure that when they leave us, that they are able to take care of themselves and their child. You know how expensive it is in Los Angeles to live. And so we want to make sure that they're equipped, that they have the soft skills and the training to be able to move forward. The early childhood education, the Head Start programs and early Head Start are critical. You cannot work if you don't have appropriate and reliable care. So we learned that early on. And so that is actually one of the largest parts of our program now, are our early childhood education centers, and we're building 2 in Linwood.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure, in the community-based side, we're going out into the community. We have a location, we call it Spa 6, and right in the Crenshaw area, we have a site there. And then we also do have housing and do services in terms of our housing, as well as early childhood education center right up the street. It's called Beverly Terrace. It's permanent supportive housing. So we've set up the continuum.
Yeah, you mentioned when the clients are with you, how long are folks with you generally, or is there a time frame?
Well, it can range. It has been, we've had people that have been, 8, 9, 12 months. We've had some that have been 3 years.
Wow.
That is not the norm at this time, the longer stays, because with some of the changes in systems and, time frames, and really trying to help people get into the community as soon as they can, once they're ready, it changes. But we believe in making sure that they're there as long as they need to be, to have the supports and services to be successful. That's what it is for us.
And you've led a number of organizations, and I know obviously these last couple of years during the pandemic, we've talked about systems and how systems need to evolve to serve people. How have you seen services and systems evolve to serve women and families in need? And how does this inform the work you're doing at St. Anne's and move St. Anne's forward?
It has been interesting. Yes, some of the time definitely has been during this pandemic. Workforce has just shifted and changed, and we've made sure that we are active with paying attention to the needs of both the clients and program participants and our staff.
Okay.
And some of those needs have been very, very similar. And so in terms of the fact that everyone was looking for certainty in uncertain times. Mm-hmm. And that's something as a leader that everyone was facing. And so we want to make sure that all the things that have gone on in the past in terms of ensuring that people feel safe, that they feel secure, that we have everything in place to make sure they're as successful as possible. This has been a time of the great resignation. You've heard about that happening. We had our young people who we had internships set up. We had placements. And then all of a sudden, those jobs were gone. Mm-hmm. And what did they do? Because they're relying on some of that. Some of our parents and our ECE were relying on some of those financial supports from those placements and those jobs that they had. Mm-hmm. So we're making sure that, the services and the systems that we continue to advocate for, mm-hmm. because during that time, our advocacy was essential. Yeah. Meeting with our legislators, talking with people in the community to make sure that this wasn't the time for donors, funders to shut down and say, we're dealing with the pandemic, we're not able to fund you. We're saying, look, we need you now more than ever to make sure that they get what they need. Mm-hmm. And that's a range of services from food, basic needs, all the way up to, supports for the children and families.
Yeah. How many young women are you serving annually, would you say?
Young women, children, and also the addition of single fathers. And I'll add that because we've expanded in that way. Okay. Last year, we had 2,000 families that we've served. Okay. And that was people coming in for housing, food, clinical services, all of the services that we provide, yes.
And you mentioned that obviously over time, folks are finding you through different channels, but increasingly you said you serve a lot of folks who come through the foster youth system. And I know here in the county there are about 35,000 or so in the foster care system, and there've been a lot of write-ups how challenging that system has been and how a lot of folks have fallen through the cracks. And we had a conversation early in our podcast journey with Mark Wilson over at the Coalition for Responsible Community Development, focusing on South Central and how such a key part of their work was aimed at foster youth specifically. So I'm wondering, how you all are, since you're new to the area, how you have observed the foster care system and how you all work within that system.
The system is complex because I always say they're trying to solve an issue that at times can feel unsolvable. Right. Do you understand what I mean? In a sense of care and support for this population who has experienced trauma, who has been involved in various vulnerable, often situations. We're there to make sure that they kind of come out on the other side. Mm-hmm. They're very resilient, but people have to understand when they hear about some of the aspects with some of these young people that they faced a lot of challenges. And now you have someone who has had those experiences, but is also a parent. So now they're responsible for two individuals, not just themselves. And so we're always working to make sure that they have the supports that they need to guide them to the next level. Think about it. If you're in the system of, foster care, you may not have had some of the normal teaching that you would get from a parent. Things that people will say things like, well, you should know how to make a bed. And not in our program, but just simple things people just assume that people should know. And so we're making sure that their self-esteem is boosted. We're making sure that they get what they need. And we're making sure that we fight for systemic change. Because sometimes the best intention of, what someone may think outside of the setting for this young person is when you get to really know them and know their strengths and know some of their challenges, some of these plans aren't ideal, but we work and we collaborate to make sure that they're getting their need. We work from a strength-based perspective, so we don't prescribe to any setting or scenario that would have people feel that these young people were less than, because they're very capable. They've just been through some settings and situations and life experiences that have been challenging.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of this work is incredibly challenging, but also incredibly important and very personal to you. And I think you talk about this in a book that you authored called "Mum's the Word," which talks about late discovery adoption personally. Tell us more about that.
Yes, late discovery adoption. So, I've been in this field for a while. I'm passionate and love this work. I do believe our young people have so much to offer and hopeful. I personally had to deal with finding out in my 30s, not knowing that I was adopted. So that's what late discovery adoption is. There's a whole set of people out there. Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC, who wrote the foreword for my book, had the same experience. There are so many people that have had that. It was jarring, because I found out accidentally. So this isn't in my 30s that someone says, let me tell you what happened, we never told you. This was, I was applying for a passport, needed an original birth certificate. I was born in London, England, just to clarify. And so I'm sending off to go to a family reunion. So all of this comes about based on a quest to go on a family reunion out of the country. So anyway, just to clarify what happened. So I didn't believe it. I all of a sudden got the paperwork back. I'm thinking, oh, great. I'm waiting for this paperwork. I'm going to give it, to get my passport and I can go on this trip. And the paperwork comes back stating certificate of adoption.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, this has to be wrong. I eventually, confronted my mom, who I call my mom because after 30 years, of course, she's my adoptive mom, but she's always just been my mom. My dad had passed away at the time. And she said, it's out now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And shared that, this was true. But through that journey, I understand some of the levels of things that some of the young people would have in terms of a quest for finding out about birth parents, because some of the young people in the system, in care, don't know sometimes who their birth parents were. Sometimes they're in a situation where they're looking to be adopted. And so some of those same moments of looking for, who do I look like? Who am I connected to? I had an ability to relate to that. Also, the irony of me working in all these programs that started in the foundation of adoption, and here I am in that same space.
Unbelievable.
So, believe me, there were so many moments that I call ordained incidents. I did find my birth mom, and we have the same birth date. We look a lot alike. And there's so many pieces that I won't go into because, managing the time, but the journey is real. And the name of the book is Mum's the Word, because mother in England, because I was born in England. And then my mom, my adoptive mom, asked me not to say anything. And I didn't share any of that until she passed away.
Oh, wow.
So no one knew except my husband.
That's incredible.
For years.
Wow. Well, you came out here to Los Angeles and to this role, and you've been in leadership now about 4 years. 2 of which have been the trauma of the pandemic.
Yes.
How has the organization evolved or adapted to these times, and particularly since you've got a large staff of women serving women, how have they adapted to these times and that work in serving the young women who you serve as well?
Yes. I tell you, 2 years in the pandemic of leadership is like dog years, okay? I have recognized, first of all, we have an all-female, amazing, dynamic leadership team, which is a first. And I'll say that as a Women's History Month for St. Anne's Family Services. But it was really us pulling together on a level where I kept telling our team and our staff, everyone's looking for certainty from leadership, because that's what people do. They're looking for guidance and direction from us when we were in uncertain times.
Exactly.
So, day to day, we're learning, people didn't know what the virus was, how we could catch it, how, we were to maneuver. And so we had to make sure that the clients and the program participants still had all their needs met.
Yeah.
Our organization kept running while this was all happening. So it took us adapting and seeing who was able to work off-site, making sure that our housing programs, which we know all our staff needed to be on-site. As a leader, I have to be honest and say that people assumed that I would work from home because I was able to do that. And I lead by example. I'm not going to ask my staff to come in and then not come in. So I've literally been there this entire time working in the office, as some of our leadership has as well, for this past 2 years. And so we got technology for the clients, our ECE program. We bought iPads so the children can still have virtual learning experiences, our teachers.
And Lorna, let's back up. What is the ECE program?
I'm sorry, early childhood education. That's what I was referencing.
Okay,
yes.
gotcha. Okay.
So we made sure that the children didn't have learning loss. And so we equipped the parents so that the teachers can teach the children from home. We had our staff members who provide clinical services. We had to set up computers and have them do telehealth. And it was really getting our team together, because there were two things going on. There was the pandemic in terms of health and COVID-19, and then there was the social justice issues that were going on. And so we had to deal with all of that and making sure people felt whole. That was the best word I could use, that we had to provide that high support while we still had that high accountability from all our funders and donors who still wanted to know that we were doing what we were supposed to do. So we all stepped up to the plate. Our team members really, our systems and our strategy, we got together. We had and gave out more food and more services than we did prior to pandemic. And there were days we had, got together and it was just felt like the burden was so heavy because our team had homeschooling.
And how many people do you have serving the organization? About 400 or so?
Yes. Yes,
Wow.
We have about 400 staff, and it will increase probably as we move into this new area that I mentioned in terms of our sites that we have at Abbott and Lugo Elementary School. We have 2 new child care centers that are being built. We have the ribbon cutting coming up very soon.
Okay, we hope to join you for that. So, what you observed then over these last few years, what's your advice and guidance to young women now, particularly that you're serving, and that work for you in terms of, what is an appropriate approach to work, life, family, self-care, balances? That's
a lot of, we had all staff meetings. You asked about what was going on during that time. And we talked a lot about self-care. We had mindfulness moments to open the meetings. We actually talked about so much of that was going on. People were trying to do their jobs at home, homeschool, children's needs. I mean, people had tears. It was an emotional time in all levels. And so the same thing was being reflected with some of our program participants. They're trying to do schoolwork, college work, children there.
Yeah.
It was difficult. I say that this experience was very equalizing. It was an opportunity for people to feel what some of our young people and clients have had to go through.
Okay.
Because when you have a life where things don't always seem to be in control, you don't have that level of control, you have these barriers, everyone's not used to having that.
Right.
And COVID-19 and all that was going on became a barrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And resilience was important.
Right.
And I can say a lot of the young people and the adults, even in the programs, showed how resilient they were. And so, I will definitely say that we were flexible. We allowed people to work from home if they were able to. And in terms of self-care, it was critical. I was a leader that said, if you need to stay home with your children today,
stay home.
Stay home. And I'm going to be honest. I'm someone that say high support and high accountability as a leader. I'm going to give you high support, but I still have high accountability. And you just get the job done the best way you can.
And people responded.
And people responded.
Yeah, that's great. So certainly as we move past the pandemic, which we hope we're in now, what are your hopes for the organization moving forward, and how do you hope to meet future challenges and needs?
After the pandemic, we're ready for anything.
Let's hope it's over now.
Yes. I'm saying after, as in when we're officially, which I guess we're now going into the endemic stage. Is that it?
Okay.
But, the hopes are basically for us to continue to do some of the things we started strategizing on. We had great plans and high hopes, and we did some of them during the time. We built these 2 new centers during a pandemic. They're just being finished. But I think it's really things like we have an amazing conference center. One of the things they're so surprised when they come to our program. It's larger than they think. And so we would rent our center out for conferences. We'd have events. We're looking forward to having our Evening of Angels gala again.
Oh, wow.
All the things that we couldn't do because of the pandemic. We did them virtually, but we miss seeing people.
Absolutely.
Having our volunteers come back. We would have volunteers. We've had some amazing women support our organization. So looking to get those people back. Kelly Rowland was one of the individuals who not only supported us, a lot of times people think people just give a check.
Right.
But she actually came and spent time with the girls, talked to them, sent gifts for them. There's so many people that have done that, Ryan, Bethany Brown. There's so many people, Tika Sumter, all these people who, and I only mention them because people tend to think that those folks just give checks, but these are people who come and support.
Right.
Katira, and Michael Ely and all these people who come and support the program, and those day-to-day people, who volunteer, the members of our guild, the Guild of Volunteers and the ECE committee and all the board members have been so dynamic during this time. They really have. They've supported.
Well, certainly one of the things we always love to talk about is the importance of collaboration and partnerships, and such a strong value proposition that we like to advance. So share with us and our listeners, what types of partnerships and collaboration that you're looking for, and how might other interested parties get involved in your work?
Well, we love to have people who have skill sets that can support our organization. So volunteers, we're looking for additional board members. We're looking for people who have skills in terms of where we're going around. We continue to outgrow our space and parking and all of these things. And so people with, real estate background, we have so many great legal minds on our board now. And so we're looking for, board members, volunteers. We want to have collaborations around our workforce development. One of the things for me is that I don't want our young women and the families, not just young women. We have in our permanent supportive housing single dads. We have mothers that are, older. They're not as young. And I want them to have opportunities for jobs, not just in the traditional areas where people give, workforce opportunities.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with working in service industry. Want to make that very clear. Those are wonderful jobs. We wouldn't have made it during the pandemic without that.
Right.
But I want them to have opportunities for other work experiences. And I'd like people in the community who want to hire and support those experiences. So we're looking for many partnerships, and we're always looking for foundation support. My development person would kill me if I didn't say, there's a joke that we have in the office. I walk around saying, show me the money. So, donations are always critical, but I want to partner with people who care about the people we serve. I don't want to have people who just come through just to, show up and take a photo op.
Right.
I want to have people who come through who really care and understand that all the people in our programs are going to be the people that they're going to be working with in some form or fashion in the future.
Now that's great, and we love to come down and visit with your team and get to know the organization a little bit more as we go past this pandemic.
We have a very passionate team. It's funny. I was at a meeting and I told someone, and I said, I don't mean to say this. I said, but we have an A+ team here. We really like to do a good job, and I love what he said. He said, you don't have to qualify that statement.
Okay.
He said, I like the fact that you all are A+ and that you have the outcomes to prove it. He said, don't ever walk away from that. But, it didn't want it to sound like we were boasting. We pride ourselves on working hard, and we like to do a good job.
Yeah.
And I like to share that only because that comes at a cost.
Right.
People put in lots of hours. They work very hard. Sometimes it takes away from family time. You asked about balance.
Yeah.
And so there's a great side of that, but there's also a cost.
Right. That's great. Well, Lorna, again, you've had 2 years of the pandemic. You've been in LA about 4 years, but you came to us from the East Coast. So I'm an East Coast person as well.
Yes.
But we always like to wrap up our conversations with a little lightning round.
Oh, wow.
So, we're going to assume that you've gotten around town a little bit
Yes.
when you're not serving the folks at St. Anne's. So we like to get to know a little bit about you through your Los Angeles. So you ready for our lightning round?
I guess I am. This is live, people.
So we love to eat. So give us a favorite restaurant or two.
Okay, I have to give you a couple. I didn't share, but, I said I was born in England, but I have Jamaican heritage.
Okay.
So Aki Bamboo is one of my favorites.
Leimert Park. Yes.
In Leimert Park. And then Fixin's downtown. I have to shout out downtown because I live downtown.
Okay.
Is an amazing new restaurant. Always service. Can you believe we get our food in like 6 minutes?
Okay.
Every time we order. I mean, that's unheard of in a soul
is it
food
pre-made?
restaurant.
Is it fresh
No,
or what?
fresh.
Okay.
I know that's what. No, I have
was
to
gonna say
say. I
that-
guess
that's-
Kevin Johnson owns it. Ball player. I guess
Yes,
he used to be the mayor of Sacramento.
former Sacramento Kings.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And so anyway, but Fixin' Soul Food Restaurant downtown, Aki Bamboo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give us a favorite place to take a sip. I don't know whether you're a coffee drinker, a tea drinker, or a wine drinker, or.
I'm not a sipper too much on the other side, but
Okay.
I like coffee, and I would say Pranks tends to have good beverages there.
Where's
because
that?
Pranks, it's downtown as well.
Okay.
And the reason I like Pranks is because through the whole pandemic, they were open and serving.
Okay.
And so I like to go there and get coffee, tea.
Okay. That's new to us. Favorite place to take a visitor?
I think the California African American Museum is something that I enjoy. The Grammy Museum is another one. And just walking around downtown. I think, I like them to see LA Live and all the places down there. And of course, they always want to go to see, Hollywood and
Exactly.
in that
We
area
like
because they're
that.
usually from out of town.
Well, we are here at Emerson College in the heart of Hollywood. So give us a favorite hike or park.
I'm not a big hiker. I'm a walker. But there's a little small park that people don't often look at, and it's behind the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Oh, wow.
It is beautiful. It has benches. It has outdoor seating. It has a place for children to play. And it's very underutilized because I don't think people know about it. And I love it because I go over there and there's exercise there in the morning, and it's just a great place to be. I think it's a little kind of a hidden gem. Now, tomorrow morning, I'm going on my first hike at Griffith Park with Morning Mindset with Ty. So I'll tell you how I make out.
Excellent. I'm a big fan of Griffith Park, so I hope you enjoy that.
Yeah.
So you touched on it. Our last question. Give us a hidden gem then.
For me, I really do think it's that small park. It's not
Okay.
huge,
Okay.
but it's right there downtown, and it's an amazing little place that you can go and have a little bit of peace. As you said, I'm from the East Coast, so when I saw it, I saw that greenery, and I felt
Right.
like I was back on that side, a different type of park.
That's excellent. Well, Lorna, that's great. We really appreciate having you on the podcast. We appreciate this dialogue, and we appreciate all that you and the team at St. Anne's is doing. As we say on Civitas LA, the guest gets the last word. Share with us any closing thoughts, and particularly on how women can share pathways to create their own personal histories.
I believe it's very important to recognize that over the years, women have faced challenges just due to societal issues and restrictions. And I can say that we need to take advantage of all the opportunities now to be who we are. I enjoy Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. I think that one of the things that has led me is not being defined by any one path. I can be early when I talked, I can be the photographer, I can be the clinician, I can be the leader, I can have a talk show, a television show that I've had. I can do all these things. And I think women need to feel comfortable with trying things, and it's okay if it doesn't turn into your work or career. It can just be your passion. And I just want people to know that we need to also take time always, no matter what we're doing, to give back. I mentioned to you briefly that Emerson College, ironically, in my yearbook for high school, I mentioned that I wanted to go to Emerson.
Oh, really?
And through life challenges and decisions as a woman, you talk about women's history, you may be aware in my book that I had my daughter young.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I had to make a choice. Was I going to try to go to Emerson College in Boston, or I was going to stay with my child because this is the life that I wanted? And that's a choice I had made, and I don't regret it. But this is an example of, I'm not here studying, but I made it to Emerson College.
Right.
It's never too late to go after your dreams. I don't care what it is. That's my mantra for women. Never give up on your dreams, and you can get to that place, even if it takes a while, because you have the capacity, and you don't let people make you live down to any negative expectation.
Well, that's a great concluding thought here at Emerson College Los Angeles campus in the heart of Hollywood. So thank you for that. Certainly, this has been wonderful, and we really do hope that we can come down and visit you at St. Anne's campus and meet some of your team members and some of the young families down there. As we continue our Women's History Month series, again, Civitas LA extends deep gratitude to our friends at CGI Plus Real Estate and Investment Strategies in Woodland Hills for their generous support of our work and their sponsorship of this series. To learn more about CGI Plus, we invite you to visit them at www.cgiplus.com. And to our audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this program, and we hope you'll join us in 2 weeks as we continue our Women's History Month series and engage with another dynamic civic leader. Until we meet again, stay strong and get involved. To learn more about Civitas LA and to share feedback on this program or recommend a future program, please visit us at www.civitasla.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Facebook at Civitas LA, on Instagram at Civitas_LA, and on Twitter at Civitas_LA.